Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, CES this year. The first thing is, of course, tablets. Tablets is the fastest growing consumer electronics device in history. Faster growing than music players, faster growing than smartphones, faster growing than game consoles ever did, fastest growing computing device in history. iPad obviously has changed the world and changed how we compute and how we enjoy content. Icecream Sándwich is going to give it a real run for its money. 2 years ago, we talked about the tablet revolution. Last year, we introduced with Google the Honeycomb tablet. It got off to a rocky start. It got off to a rocky start for a couple of 2-3 reasons. The first reason is that in order to advance tablets, Google had to split the operating system into two platforms, Gingerbread and Honeycomb. They had to do that because the tablet needed to be able to have a very, very good UI, and it needed accelerated multimedia. Whereas the phone had requirements to support the install base, the hundreds of millions of units of install base. That was a clumsy year for Android, and yet Android continued to grow. Obviously because there's a market out there for people who would like to be different than iPhones. When everybody in the world has an iPhone, it's hard to be different. It's hard to think different when everybody's the same. And so there's naturally people who would like to be different than everyone else. Android gives you that ability to differentiate. And now, 1 year later, we've introduced Icecream Sándwich. 3 days ago, we announced the first Icecream Sándwich OTA for tablets. Tegra 3 is OTA in production with Icecream Sándwich. If you haven't had a chance to play with it, it's really fantastic. It's really, really fantastic. It's buttery smooth, lots and lots of applications, folders, multitasking. They did a fantastic job. Andy and his team did a fantastic job. We raced to the marketplace, introduced Tegra 3 with OTA, and now it's available on ASUS transformers. And there will be many, many other tablets to come. Icecream Sándwich solves several problems. The first problem, of course, is that it reunites the Android operating system. It's now a single platform. The second thing is, it is now hundreds and hundreds of man-years of engineering later, after Honeycomb, so that it is much more refined. And the third thing, because it is now one singular platform, it is able to attract a lot more developers. And we saw this week on stage with us, the VP of Engineering of Snapseed, the #1 application of iPad, is now coming to tablets on Android as well. And so that tells you something. That says that Android is really ready to give the iPad a real run for its money because it's able to now add a lot of value. Now the second part, in order to add value, of course, is the price point. The price point needs to be affordable. The first generation of tablets, the engineering was a little bit too clumsy and the cost was too high. The second generation now coming out with Icecream Sándwich, much, much more affordable. You have terrific tablets at $399, you have terrific tablets at $299, and then of course we dropped the big bombshell. Tegra 4 tablet, 12 by 8 resolution, IPS display at $249. Fantastic price point. There's just really no reason to buy a dedicated e-reader or a media reader if you can have a flexible tablet that allows you to enjoy book readers from anywhere, consume content from anywhere. And so I think that is really a fabulous development in just 1 year, Icecream Sándwich. Just as everybody thought that, there's a lot of people who thought, wow, last year was going to be fantastic, and the expectation for tablets was well above reality, of course. This year, I think it's going to be exactly the opposite. This year is going to be exactly the opposite. And we've seen this movie before. There are many, many consumer electronics devices. The first year, the expectation exceeds the results. And then people say, it's not going to make it. And of course, the second year, the results exceed the expectations. We see this all the time, and I think we're going to see this with tablets as well. The second tablet we talked about this week was Windows 8. We gave an update on Windows 8. Windows 8 is a major operating system. It's not the same as all of the other operating systems. Windows 8 is to me, to the industry, what Windows 95 was. If you guys remember what Windows 95 did, Windows 95 brought Microsoft into the consumer world. It made the PC, an office automation device, into a personal computer, really. And it did it because Windows 95 had DirectX. With multimedia, video, audio, wonderful 3D graphics, it now became a platform for consumer applications. Windows 95 changed the world, there's no question about that. Windows XP made it even better, but Windows 95 was what made what we know today about the consumer PC market what it is. Windows 8 is going to do the same for Windows as Windows 95. As a major of an event, Windows 8, of course, is going to bring Windows into the mobile world. Now, that's a tablet, which is an intermediate device in between a phone and a PC. A tablet is that intermediate device in between a phone and a PC. It's more mobile than a PC, okay? And it's more productive than a phone. And so it's an intermediate device. As an intermediate device, Windows can now bring all of the benefits and things that we like about Windows to that intermediate device. And I'm really excited. If your life starts with Windows, which mine does, then this is a natural extension to be able to take it with you. This week, at our press conference, you guys saw that Microsoft gave us an update of Windows 8, demonstrating its applications. And Aiden said a couple of things that was very important. One thing that he said was people will consume applications for Windows 8 devices from the Windows Store. This app store, this Windows Store, allows the tablet to not suffer all of the same things that the netbook did, which was when people bought a netbook, consumers took it home and they said, now how do I put applications on this? And when they loaded the applications that they had in DVD-ROMs or whatever it was, the applications didn't run very well. That problem won't exist on Windows 8 tablets because all the applications come from Windows Store. And all those Windows Store applications have already been tested to work perfectly on a Windows tablet. So number one. It is also the modern way of consuming applications. Number two, because Windows Store's economics are so much more powerful, it's wonderful for developers, and that's one of the things that helps them differentiate against all of the other stores to bring applications to it. And of course, you guys all know that Microsoft has the world's best tools for developers. Visual Studio is the de facto standard of software developers, and that's an advantage that they'll take advantage of. So Windows 8, I think, will be very important, as big, as important as Windows 95, and I think it solves a lot of the previous challenges that people thought about Windows. That was the first thing. The second thing that we talked about this week was Direct Touch, another surprise for Tegra 3. As you know, the goal of our company is not to make chips. And the making of chips is not to have 1 core, then 2 cores, and 2 cores, and 4 cores. That's not a very imaginative roadmap. Because after 4 cores would be 4 cores, right? And so that's not a very imaginative roadmap. And you guys always know that when we come to market, we don't just come with a chip. We come with what problems are we trying to solve? What experiences are we trying to introduce? What are we trying to make possible now that wasn't possible before? What can we do that would make this device and the devices that this processor is in wonderful for ourselves? And we're trying to change the world in our way. Tegra 3 came to the marketplace. It was the world's first quad-core, just as Tegra 2 was the world's first dual-core. As the world's first quad-core, everybody says, wow, it's going to be so great. And then a few months later, we said, no. It's actually got 5 cores. And everybody goes, oh, wow, it's so great. And the reason for that is because in order to achieve both high performance at the same time as very, very good energy efficiency, this 5th core, which is extremely low energy, low power. But it's very, very good performance, but it's very low power. Allows us to push the 4 cores without sacrificing battery life. And that's why the 4 cores are so fast, and yet the battery life is so good. It is exactly the same idea as the hybrid Ferrari 599. Okay, you guys know this car? The hybrid Ferrari 599. How is it possible a V12 has a hybrid engine inside? They pushed that V12 engine as hard as they could, but it still has wonderful fuel efficiency because they have a great hybrid core. Okay? You're going to see more and more high-performance cars designed this way. You have the benefit of an energy-efficient engine as well as a very, very powerful engine when you need it. Tegra 3 is designed basically the same. The second thing we did with Tegra 3 is we realized that the display is consuming the vast majority of the power. The display is getting even worse every time. And the reason for that is because we want the display to be beautiful. And beautiful means vibrant. Vibrancy means energy consumption. And so we used image processing technology on every pixel, on every frame, to dramatically reduce the power consumed. When you reduce power, when you extend battery life, you are reducing the weight and you're reducing the cost of the tablet. Those two capabilities, the 5th core and prism, we call it prism because the technology separates the light from the color. We adjust both individually. Although we see this color and light combination, we may have lightened the color and reduced the backlight at the same time. But you see this. So we use a prism technology, called prism technology, to dynamically adjust that in real time. The third surprise that we announced this week was direct touch. Your touch experience with a tablet, if you have an iPad, you know very well. The touch experience is very important to how you feel on the device. The touch controller is very, very difficult technology. And in fact, the more difficult it is, and the more expensive it is, the better it is, of course. But the more expensive it is, and the more costly it is, the less successful that tablet becomes, of course. So we have this simultaneous problem of wanting to make it great and wanting to make it inexpensive. Wanting to make it great and make the device small. Wanting to make it great and make the device lower power. This complicated balance on touch, and because touch is such an important part of the experience, we thought that it was really important for us to find a solution for it. We call it direct touch. We literally use the 5th core, which is very, very low power, very high energy efficiency, but relative to microcontrollers, 10 times the performance. And so we can now run the software on our hybrid core instead of on microcontrollers. As a result, we get very, very good performance, very good outputs, and also reduce cost. That's the second thing we talked about. The third thing, and this is what I think we're going to see more and more and more, just as the cell phone industry was revolutionized by computer technology. Your cell phone is not a small computer. Just as your music player was revolutionized by computer technology, the iPod is a small computer. We're seeing now 2 other industries becoming revolutionized by the computer technology. One is digital TVs. From digital phones to smartphones, from digital television to smart televisions. We will see in the future that the automotive industry will be the largest consumer electronics industry of all. You'll have smart TVs and smart music players, and it's going to be like a home theater inside that car. Not to mention, it's going to be a robot on wheels. It's going to have wonderful computer vision to help with driver assistance and safety, and it's going to be just incredibly exciting to be in your car. Let's just face it. The amount of electronics that we can bring in there now is really quite powerful. And so this week, we also announced that Audi, our first automotive partner, introduced the Tegra 3 for their next generation product. They want to be as a company that can stay on the consumer electronics roadmap. That every single year, when the leading edge technologies are being introduced into the consumer electronics world, they want to be able to take this leading edge technology and put it into it. I think that this is the beginning of the automotive industry becoming one of the largest consumer electronics industries in the world. Which I think for all of us who enjoy cars, this is very wonderful news. We've always loved the car, but we hated the instrumentation inside because our phones look so much better. Now we're going to change all that. Now the car companies are going to really take it to the next level. I think you're going to be surprised with the technology that's possible. Okay, so those were the three things to talk about. This is going to be a great year for tablets. Tegra 3 with direct touch, and continue to advance Tegra and make it the most powerful, the most advanced mobile processor in the world. And then the third thing is the automotive industry is going to be a huge consumer electronics industry. Okay, so those were the three things that we talked about this week. Can I open it up for questions? Good to see you. Yes. Yes, I do.
Well, we didn't talk about smartphones in this week. Intel announced their processor with their partnership with Lenovo and Motorola. How do you see this smartphone landscape, and now with Intel making its debut in this market?
Well, we didn't talk about smartphones this week because this isn't the show for smartphones. It's a few weeks away. And so Mobile World Congress is the global launching pad for the new season. And we didn't want to ruin your surprise. and so
so you're gonna have a surprise?
I don't think you should open presents on December 22nd. I mean, you waited all year. And so I think Christmas is coming soon.
So no comments about Intel?
Just wait. Number one. Number two, obviously, Intel is a great company, and they're going to have products. Mobile computing is the future of computing. Mobile computing is the future of computing. In fact, a car is going to be a mobile computer. A television will be a mobile computer. Everything will be a mobile computer. Mobile computing is the future of computing. It is too important not to be part of it. And right now, if you look at the companies that are really competing out there, Qualcomm and ourselves are competing on a day-to-day basis. And now that we have Icera and we have our own modem technology, we're integrating them into single chips and developing next-generation platforms. We now are one of two companies that has both advanced application processors and the latest generation modem technology to be able to integrate them together. And so this is a space that they can't afford not to participate in. And so I expect that they'll continue to try. The challenge, of course, from all of us as we, and this is you observe the same thing and I observe it. Why x86 in a mobile device? Well, the question isn't ever why not, right? The question is why, because the consumer's priority, the consumer's needs are more important than our needs. If our needs are important, then the question is why not? Well, why not I start a French restaurant? Well, the reason why not is because I don't know anything about it, right? and so the question then becomes, why would a customer come to my French restaurant? The more important question is, why does a consumer need to have x86 in their device? All of the applications, 400,000 applications in the marketplace, 14,000 new applications for Android per month, they're all on it. And I just don't know how fast it would take to convert all of that. It would just take forever. And so I think that's the challenge. The world is moving against x86 in the mobile world, not because of competition, but simply because ARM is available. And so now the movement is the ARM movement, and it's the most important instruction set mobile world. And I think that's really, I expect Intel to continue to make an effort. And they're a great company, and I see exciting things that will happen as a result of that. But the challenge, of course, is how do they overcome that?
Good morning.
Good morning.
At first, I'm wondering about, did you have a breakfast? Did you have a breakfast?
Not yet. I'm doing it right now.
Okay. Unfortunately.
I read an hour of news. I did 45 minutes of email, and now I'm having breakfast.
At first, I was very impressed about NVIDIA's booth. I mean, Tesla Model S vehicle and Lamborghini Aventador, Audi A7. It was very impressive, and I enjoyed the NVIDIA booth.
Thank you.
I'm from Korea, so it's a natural to asking about you how NVIDIA will business with Samsung or LG Electronics. So I think it's the problem. 2012 is NVIDIA have to consider the TV side of the Korean mobile phone market because the Korean mobile phone market is moving fast to 4G, you mean LTE. So Qualcomm has a dual band chipset about 4G and Snapdragon quad-core, but NVIDIA doesn't have it. Korean market researchers say 2012 20 million people will moving to LTE. 20 million people is the half of the total Korean population. So the Korean market is very special.
Yeah.
So how would you?
That's a really good question. I understand the question.
NVIDIA do?
I'm going to repeat the question.
How will NVIDIA do business with Samsung or LG? Because Samsung is the number one or number two mobile phone market in the world.
So the question is this. The question is Korea has 20 million users, and this year, or 20 million users who will be moving to 4G LTE. His question, Mr. O's question to me is there's really embedded a couple of questions in it. There's one question that says Qualcomm has LTE and Snapdragon. We don't have LTE. So the question is, how would we participate in the local Korean market? The second question is about Samsung and LG. How would we partner with them, and how can we be successful partnering with them to build mobile devices? They're two questions. They're related but not exactly the same, and I'm going to explain why. Okay. So the first question is really, what is our LTE strategy? Our LTE strategy in the first half is to work on it, but to release it on the second half of this year. We're working with all of the LTE vendors, including Qualcomm,